Yeah, so I'm 25 years old now, and I was actually diagnosed with ulcerative colitis at 14.
Yeah.
So anyway, sort of fast forward on to 18, in university, just studying, and I've just get loads of mucus, urgency of stool, and the stools weren't very good at all. I just had these gross symptoms of going to the bathroom like 6-7 times a day when it's at its worst. Blood now and again, but mainly it was mucus, and anyone that's had IBD knows the mucus I'm talking about, and it's just disgusting. The problem is, doing it on your own, you're second guessing. You don't know what you're doing, if that's right or wrong. Yeah, I mean, the next day I paid for it. I was out in the mall in a public area, and I had to go to the toilet, and I've never ever seen blood or mucus like it. We're about 5 weeks in, and my symptoms are, the word I'd use, my symptoms are disappearing. I think at that point, any doubts that you've had just go, because you can see it working. You're going for the stools, and they're coming out perfect. Yeah, it was about 6 weeks in, gone. All mucus, completely gone. 3 form bowel movements a day, no blood, no urgency. You feel like you're on the toilet for about 10-15 seconds. That's it. It was unbelievable. It was such a surreal feeling of all the doubts that you've had, and you've gone through the whole process and you've actually done it. You can't quite comprehend that you've done it.
Yeah.
you're symptom free. You're completely healed. After that, I can now handle legumes, nuts, whole grains. I've got absolutely no problems. I've got, the stools are amazing. No blood, no urgency, no mucus. Thing is, you can heal from this, and I think what you learn by healing is actually that the body is a self-healing genius, and all the symptoms you've been having probably for years weren't actually bad. It was kind of the body saying, look, I'm trying to actually sort myself out. This year, basically, all I've done, I've just provided foods that nourish the body. I've got out its way, I've rested properly, and I've got rid of a medically incurable disease just by eating fruit and vegetables, resting, and having a better mindset. Life after colitis, definitely. I'm absolutely buzzing with it, to be fair.
Hello everyone, welcome to another video, and it's testimonial time. I'm joined by Bradley. How are you, man?
Yeah, doing really well, thanks, mate. Thanks.
Yeah, nice to have you on, man. Thanks for taking the time. So Bradley has been healed now. He's finished our 6-month program, and he's going to tell you all about what he was diagnosed with and everything. But Bradley, to start off with, can we just get into a little bit about how this all started for you, and a bit about your journey?
Yeah, so I'm 25 years old now, and I was actually diagnosed with ulcerative colitis at 14, so quite young, to be fair. It was just didn't have a clue what it was. Just went to the bathroom one day, had a stool, looked at the paper, and it was quite scary because it was just red blood, and there was a lot of it. Obviously, sort of showed my mum in that instance, and had a couple of more stools, and they're exactly the same. And then no 14-year-old should have to have a colonoscopy, I don't think. It wasn't the most enjoyable experience. I definitely think there was a few tears whilst that was happening. And I could see it on the screen. I didn't obviously know what it was, but I could see obviously what looked like a normal colon. Then you'd see these sort of like yellow, pussy, they were the ulcers. In all fairness, I believe they put me on the malazine, just some suppositories to start with. That got rid of it quite quickly. Well, got rid of the symptoms, I should sort of say, because it didn't then come back until I was 18. Yeah. So obviously we didn't look any further into it. We just thought, right, medication sorted it. It's all gone. Nothing to worry about. But I was young, so body probably rectified itself. So anyway, sort of fast forward on to 18, in university, just studying, and I've just get loads of mucus, urgency of stool, and the stools weren't very good at all. I've had another colonoscopy. So instead of UC, they've sort of said actually it's proctitis now. So in my mind, they're pretty much the same thing. It's just the inflammation more towards the rectum rather than sort of more in towards the colon. And they just did the same thing. They just did malazine suppositories. Being honest, the malazine was just poor. It never really worked for me. And that was the only medication they ever tried. They just basically said, look, every time it flares up, just take the Malizine.
Okay.
It just didn't agree with me. It just kept coming back and forth. The mucus was there. It would go away for a bit. But the problem is I didn't really care about the sort of the colitis or proctitis at that time, because it's one of these things that the colitis never stopped me doing anything.
Right.
I was still going to the gym. I was still going out partying. I was still. It was invisible. No one knew I had it. I didn't tell anyone I had it. Only my parents knew.
Yeah.
I didn't care. I didn't care about it. You know,
I wasn't quite young as well, right?
Yeah, I was 18, so I just didn't care. I wasn't like looking forward of what it can do in the future. I just didn't care. So every time it would flare up, and it was only mucus. The blood was here and there, but it was mainly mucus. Every time it flared up, I would just take the Malizine. It might go away. It might come back. I didn't care. So that was just on and off, on and off, on and off, all the way up until really about 23, 24-ish. And then I basically kind of wanted some answers because it was boring having to go back and forth, having colonoscopies, them saying it. And they said the same thing every time. They're like, okay, this is the part that's inflamed. Take the medication. Hopefully that will reduce the inflammation. Yeah. And then it kind of got to a point. I mean, I haven't got a story to tell you about. I was like sick in hospital and I had fatigue. I didn't have that. I just had these gross symptoms of going to the bathroom like 6-7 times a day when it's at its worst. Blood now and again, but mainly it was mucus. And anyone that's had IBD knows the mucus I'm talking about, and it's just disgusting. Like it's not comfortable at all. So it kind of gets to a point where I'm like, right, I've had this for a long time now. It's disgusting. Is there anything else I can do to stop it? And I've sort of started then asking the consultants I'm working with and the nurses. I'm sort of saying like, is there anything else I can do to cure this? And they've said, nope, it's a chronic condition, medically incurable. You're going to have this for the rest of your life, and you're just going to have to medicate. And I was like, it's not nice to hear that at all, because you've then got a plan to have this forever. It's a tough one, but I don't think they're lying. I think it is medically incurable, because if the medication works, then me and you wouldn't be having this conversation today anyway. We'd all have done it. If this Malizine or whatever you're taking works, then none of us would have it. But we'll come on to that. We'll come on to that a little bit more. But ultimately, I've then sort of asked them, does diet have anything to do with this? And the consultant just looked me in the eye and said, look, if diet had something to do with this, then we'd all have it. I was like, oh, okay. And then it kind of creeped, and it kind of just like creeped me out a little bit, because I remember she was booking in one of the colonoscopies with me, and this lady was like, "Have we put you on the annual sort of bowel screening?" I was like, "No, why?" She goes, "Well, we normally do it for over 55s in the UK, but people with IBD have got a higher risk of having bowel cancer." Yeah. And on the phone, I was like, "Oh, really?" Like I didn't know that because I hadn't researched it, because I didn't care about it. Yeah. And that kind of hit me, and I know a couple of people that sort of around me have lost their lives to bowel cancer. So that kind of was that was kind of a deep point. And I was like, okay, I probably need to look forward and see if there's anything else. Yeah. Frustratingly, I can't remember if I found the book first from Dr. Klein or if I found your YouTube. Yeah, I can't remember. Doesn't matter. But it was sort of last November, December 2019 that I started to research it. Yeah. And I read the book. Yeah. Loved it. Thought, I could definitely do that. And then essentially I studied the YouTube videos you and your brother had put up. But that is kind of the story of IBD. So look, I don't have a crazy story of in and out of hospital, but I've had it for on and off 10 years-ish. Yeah. And I know it's a disgusting disease. It's uncomfortable. It's not a sociable disease. It hasn't stopped me doing anything, to be honest. But for me, it was more about the future. Because look, at the end of the day, I don't want there to be a situation they've said, look, the inflammation's so bad, instead of medication, we're just going to cut your colon out and we're going to redirect how you get rid of waste out of your body.
That's actually a really interesting point there, because there's a lot of people who probably are in a similar situation to you and are like, well, okay, the medication's kind of doing an okay job and I'm not being able to not do anything and I can live my life. Yeah, sometimes I'll have like a episode where it gets really gross and I get lots of bowel motions and then it kind of calms down again. But obviously you thought further ahead than just what was going on. You thought, well, okay, my colon cancer risk increases if I continue this way. Possibly you're going to need to take more stronger medication if it doesn't sort itself out. You obviously got the risk of getting your colon removed, don't you? So, you know, there's a few things that are obviously you thought about. What made you think about that?
Yeah, you can sort of see it now because you put the pieces together, right? You could have colon cancer and everything else, and then you think, right, you've got chronic, like the body needs inflammation for certain situations. That's the whole point of it, and it's very healthy in small doses. But to have chronic inflammation on and off for a very long time in one area in the body, there's going to be some repercussions at some point. And I think because I was diagnosed so young, I'm unlikely to see those repercussions. But if I'm then going to have colitis for 20, 30, 40, 50 years, is something serious going to happen? Who knows? But it got me scared. And to be fair, at that time, looking back now, we'll come on to it about the detox symptoms, but you sort of see other stuff that you had that was in relation to the colitis that you didn't even know about, like back pain, joint pain. I was only young. I was going to see in university, I was going to see a physio often, and I was only doing general exercise and chronic back pain. Not as in like I couldn't do anything, but I was thinking none of my friends are seeing physios and stuff. But now I've done the detox, it's gone. But we'll come back onto it. But for me, it wasn't about the situation. I wasn't in a dire situation at the time. Because it was once I left uni, I was sort of working and I had a bit more time on my hands. I thought, right, I'm going to do the detox. But for me, it was all about the future. I didn't want to get in a situation of being really, really sick in the future with this, because people are. You know, I've seen people on your channel that are really, really, really sick. Because it's a serious problem. You've got inflammation probably around the whole body, but you can get rid of it. So.
Yeah, I guess from that point, you found the videos and you read Dr. Klein's book, and slightly different to some of the people that work with us. Some of them pretty similar to yours as well, but you decided you'd do it on your own. So, you know, I think you wanted to share that experience, didn't you? So, share away.
Yeah, so obviously read the book last sort of November, December, and I actually had the free consult with your brother in December, and it was good. He sort of reassured me. I'd watched most of the videos by then, so I knew what he was on about. I believed in it. But for me, I've always been quite an independent person. I like to think of myself as a problem solver. And I thought, I've read this book. The book is telling me pretty straightforward what to do. Am I going to employ and pay someone to tell me how to use the book? So I mean, a lot of people on your channel give it a go for like a couple of weeks, maybe a month, just because they're excited and they want to get going. But I mean, 6 months down the line, I'm still doing it on my own.
Yeah.
And I mean, that is quite long. To be fair, I'm happy I did it, because I mean, I followed the guidelines, probably about 95% of it. And I mean, it started to work. I mean, I had the detox symptoms. I had the weight loss. I think I was about 70 kgs before. I dropped down to about 60, probably dropped down a bit too quick. A lot of my family and colleagues at work were quite worried because I'd lost that weight, and I wasn't really a big guy before. I was quite a slim person. I had the dry skin on my scalp. I had rashes on my lats before I'd never had. You know, I had these weird symptoms. But the problem is, doing it on your own, you're second guessing. You don't know what you're doing, if that's right or wrong. And all you've got is a very general guideline of a book to do it, when actually we'll come on to it. It needs to be a bit more fine-tuned to your individual being.
That's right.
So I'm cracking on with the detox. I'm doing it on my own. I think it's working. I mean, my symptoms are getting a little bit better. Now, I say I was following it, most of it. Being honest, like every 2-3 weeks, I might slip up. I've never had animal products, but what it would be is like maybe a plant-based meal at a restaurant when I'm out with my partner, something that. But because I didn't have any guidance, I was like, this one meal isn't going to do any bad. And to be fair, I never really got any kickback. So every now and again, I would sort of veer away from it. But then in the weekdays, I'd stick to it 100%. Now, to fast forward that on, 6 months into it, so it was about June, I'm in Dubai on holiday pretty much all week. I stuck to what I thought was the healing guidelines, done so well. And on like the second to final night, I was in a Chinese restaurant because they had a vegan menu. And I just had some vegan chicken alternative and some fried rice in oil. I mean, the meal was delicious considering I'd been eating pretty much fruit and potatoes. But, at the time, that's how I felt. And I mean, the next day I paid for it. I was out in the mall in a public area, and I had to go to the toilet, and I've never ever seen blood or mucus like it. Yeah. Where I'd just been eating so clean, and I'd just gone for this meal I wasn't ready for. I mean, I could consume that now. I mean, it's not health food, but I could consume it now and be absolutely fine. But it's I wasn't ready for it, and it scared me. And at that point, I was sort of thinking, I can't believe I've done this for so long on my own. Because you don't know what you're doing, and sort of I play a lot of golf, and I've started golfing the last couple of years, and I employ a coach. Well, I don't employ a coach, but I have a coach because it's so difficult. And I thought, if I'm going to have a coach for golf, then ideally I want some advice. And straight after Dubai, I just called you guys and we started working together. But that was the 6 months on my own. I mean, I'm proud of what I did, and I definitely detoxed. But I think just having someone there to sort of reassure you doing what you're doing, make sure on the right guidelines, it's just going to be an easier transition without really, really harsh detox symptoms. But I just did it too long. I was too stubborn to reach out. I should have reached out earlier, but I just thought I could. And I'm sure people could do it on their own if they do it. But the book's a very general guideline. As you'll see, when you actually get into the plans, it's a lot more tailored around your lifestyle and work and everything else. And that was actually one of the main points. I was quite reluctant to reach out because when you read the book, it was sort of saying, look, ideally, if you can take some sort of sabbatical leave, maybe 3 to 6 months. At the time I was buying a house, I work in a sales job that, I love, and I didn't want to stay at home. So I was reluctant to, I didn't know. I thought if I'd come to you guys, you'd be like, look, you can't work. You've got to stay at home. And I didn't want to hear it. So, it was me being stubborn more than anything. But when I joined you guys, I didn't have to stop work anyway. So it was fun.
Yeah, I think anyone who's interested in working with us, I think just have a chat to us, about your situation, because it isn't a one-size-fits-all situation. I mean, there are some pretty standardized guidelines, but as you made a really good point that, we have to take into account people's lifestyle, where they're working, what they're doing. Sometimes we have to even look at their preferences, and either they don't like something or... I mean, there are times where you just got to suck it up sometimes, but for the most part, or the majority of it, you can tailor things and you can play with the rules, I guess, as such, in a way, to make the healing process a bit better. I think that's a really good point you made, that it is, when you do work with us, it's not just, hey, this is the book, just follow it. There's a whole lot more to it, and, the book is a really amazing starting point, but there's so much evidence around IBD, and if you're not aware of the evidence, you haven't looked into the studies, you haven't looked into the research, you don't know all the different levers you have to pull to be able to look at what happens to the body, and if something's happening, you don't know, okay, how can I change this? What are the tools in my kit to be able to make this a bit easier for myself, and I guess that's where the coaching can really benefit people. So obviously you joined the program, and there was, I guess, you noticed some changes, obviously, when you worked with us, and talk about that.
Yeah, it happened quite quick. So I joined you sort of back end of June-ish, and I just went for the 6-month program. I thought, I was kind of thinking in my head, I probably won't need 6 months, but I'm going to go for the 6 months, because then even if I heal, I'm not going to care. I'm going to be happy. You were quite happy with some of the progress I made in terms of how I sort of explained it. And obviously I was off the medication and everything, and I was following the guidelines about 95%. We made some initial changes to sort of the daytime, because in the daytime I was having the fruits. We made some changes to that, of what I'd be having. And especially the evening meal, as some of the foods I was having, made some initial changes.
So talk about those changes.
It was just a certain fruits I was having that maybe probably weren't on the healing diet standard, stuff like mangoes and stuff. He said, look, if we can just wait a little bit for that, just stick to some of these certain fruits, we'll go for it.
And I think we also looked at some food combining, didn't we?
Yeah, food combining we definitely looked at, and I think even I was having some potatoes with skins and stuff, like baked potatoes, and said, look, come on, colon's a bit inflamed, let's just stick to soft foods, let's just nourish it, and there'll be a time and a place for those foods. We looked at food combining, we switched it up, and then looked at lifestyle as well. You were saying, look, how many hours do you sleep? And I was like, 7, 8 hours, and you're like, look, ideally for this process, if we can just have you sleeping a bit more. So I said work hours. I said, look, normally I work from 9 till 7, 9 till 8. I said, look, if we can just sort of make sure you're having enough rest here, you're not sort of overdoing it just for this short period of time, let's go for it. Yeah. And look, I took those changes on, and we went for it. And we saw really sort of quick changes from there.
That's right. And I think definitely that's a really another good point. You made some really good points so far, because I don't think a lot of people are aware that the program is more than just food,
Yeah, it's not just diet.
And it's not just diet. And I think a lot of people will just think, okay, these guys are only going to talk about diet, It's your whole lifestyle, and you got to if you're going to heal your body, you've got to look at all the ways that your body heals, and, even aspects of the mind that affect the way your body digests food, Like I've had people on the healing diet, but because of some mental situations, they're still bleeding, and so it's so much more than just food. Obviously, food plays a big role, and going to a plant-based diet is the first thing people should look at doing. But if you want to heal and you want to make sure you do everything the right way, and giving your body the best ability to heal, you've got to look at other aspects of your lifestyle. Obviously, rest is a really important one, but there's more than just that we look at.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think we can touch on the mental side of it, because I think it was can't remember what month. I think it was about September-ish. Just hit a little mental block, and I've always thought of myself as someone that is quite mentally strong, quite determined. I can stay consistent with stuff at most things I do, but I just hit a block. I mean, I had it on and off for 10 years, and obviously ingrained in your head, like I mentioned earlier, it's chronic and you're going to have it forever. And look, there's going to be times in the detox where you do have the little sort of downers, and you're thinking, especially for me, because I've been doing it for quite a while, and you're like, I've been doing this a long time now. I've still got some symptoms, and you're second guessing yourself, is it going to work for me? Even though you can watch all these testimonials of people doing it, and it's really motivating, and you can actually, there's a really nice community of people that have healed that you can reach out, and they'll always answer your questions and talk to you about it. They've been through a similar situation, but even though they've done it, which does motivate you to think I could do it, you sort of quite second guess yourself, thinking, is it going to work for me? Is it going to finally happen? And you can get a bit stuck. And I think that's definitely a massive point we went through together, was trying to break up the relationship with colitis or IBD or whatever you've got. Yeah. It's almost like, you've got to leave it behind, but it's easier said than done, because you've had it for so long, and it's just lingering in the background. But I think when you can finally let that go and think, I'm not going to have it anymore, it's gone, it's something in the past, it does free you up. And I think you're right about the mental side of it. If you can get in that mindset and let it go, you will give the opportunity for yourself to heal.
It's like letting go of a bad relationship,
Gotta do it.
It's not treating you well, and you just keep going back to it. But no, you just gotta let them go, move on. Absolutely. So you have to let it go. You've had it for a long time. It's tough, and you pitch yourself with it in the future. Try and change that story, track one, and let it go. Yeah. All right. I don't think we quite finished talking about some of the changes we made to your, to your diet and lifestyle when we started working together. So kind of continue on that path. Maybe we'll finish off discussing that. Yeah, absolutely. So we obviously made the initial changes to sort of what we were eating daily and stuff. A big thing as well is the accountability, because a lot of the stuff as well, we were filling in a food diary, and then for our weekly appointment, you would actually sort of check in the food diary and say, okay, what have you had this week? Let's just check it. Let's make sure the calories and everything else. Yeah. And it was really making sure that you were sort of keeping on top with that. And then I guess one of the
the biggest changes I've probably ever had in my life on the diet was it was just after September time. So after we'd sort of spoke about the mental stuff, that was probably the worst part. I was struggling. This mucus wasn't budging.
Yeah.
Everything else was it was so weird.
I mean,
Everything else had form stools.
Perfect. I mean, at that point they were brilliant, except for this one thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's no blood, no urgency, down to like 3 form stools a day, and you couldn't really ask for more. But the mucus would not budge, and I think that's why it got in my head. I was thinking, I don't actually know if this is going to go. Yeah, so I mean, one of the biggest changes I made whilst working with you was definitely around the September time. It was actually around my birthday when I was really struggling with the mucus. Everything else was sorted. The blood was gone. There was no urgency. 3 stools a day. Just the mucus was lingering, and it was really, really getting me down. And then I'd sort of said to you, right, how are we going to tackle this? Because I feel like I've done everything else. I almost feel weirdly healed, but I've just got the mucus, and it's driving me insane. And you said, look, there are a few options. We can maybe take out certain potatoes. We can try something different, or, well, I know you did it, but we could go raw.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. I mean, I'd seen it in the book that going raw is a very fast and effective way to heal. But a lot of the time people use cooked foods to offset that. So people detox at a bit of a slower, more manageable rate. But I mean, you went raw, didn't you, for 6 months, something like that, when your brother was healing? Is that right?
Yeah, I can't remember exactly how long I went raw for, but it's somewhere between 4 and 6 months. And yeah, it was one of the most incredible experiences. There were some different challenges to it, but physically the body just feels incredible. Yeah.
I couldn't agree more. So, I mean, I tried to go raw a couple of times during the healing process, but mainly when I was on holiday, and I was like, look, I'm probably not going to have access to my steamed potatoes and vegetables, so I'm going to go raw to be safe. And I hated it every time. I was hungry. I wanted cooked food. I was annoyed that I couldn't have cooked food. I didn't like it at all. But this sort of time in September, I was a bit down. The mucus was there. I'd done so much. I was second guessing myself, thinking, like, am I actually going to heal? Like, is this actually going to go? And you said, look, you can try raw. And the thing is, it made sense in my head. Right, let's take out any foods that are mucus forming. Let's get on the fruits only. Let's get on like a full on detox.
Yeah.
We just rolled with it, and I sort of made a promise to you, even though I didn't have to. I sort of said, look, I'm going to go raw now until I've healed, and I'm not going back to cook food. And that definitely helped me mentally, because I wasn't there thinking, on the weekend I'm going to have some potatoes. I said, look, Bradley, you are not having any cooked food until you've healed. And I rolled with it, and to be fair, there was only a few little mini detox bits in there of like some bad stools, but I think where I've been detoxing for so long, I just didn't, off the fruits, I didn't get any major detox symptoms. Where someone on a standard American diet, like my dad, if he just went on fruit only, like it would not be advisable, like, because you will detox so quickly. That's why you need to speak to someone, and do it at a slower rate and add the fruits in slowly. And I can see why people use cooked foods. And I think even you said, not everyone has to go raw. I think your brother, had cooked foods throughout the whole healing diet. So it's it's not a one size fits all. But I mean, if I was doing this detox on my own, would I have thought, actually, let's just cut out all cooked foods and go raw? Who knows? But the raw was amazing. I mean, I felt great. I felt energetic. It's funny because you feel hungry to start with. Well, only in the evenings, because the daytimes don't change. Correct. You're still on the fruits anyway. But after a while, it's like anything. The body adapts and you get used to it and you're actually fine. You don't get hungry. In the evenings, I could literally have 2 or 3 bananas and that would be me. And I was fine. I didn't complain about it. It was fine.
Yeah.
So we're about 5 weeks in, and my symptoms are, the word I'd use, my symptoms are disappearing.
Yeah.
It's the mucus is disappearing. Now, don't get me wrong, you're on a diet that is mucus free in a sense. You are eating, fruits, but the symptoms are disappearing. And I think at that point, any doubts that you've had just go. because you can see it working. You're going for the stools and they're coming out perfect, and it slowly happens. Like out of the 3 a day, you might have 1 that's perfect, 2 with mucus, and then I remember you just kept saying, look, just keep going, because soon you're going to have stools that have absolutely no mucus in there.
Yeah.
And to be fair, it became a bit of a mental thing with me. I was like checking my stools and I was probably getting a bit too far with it. Like, am I going to have mucus? It was a bit nervy. But it was about 6 weeks in, gone. All mucus, completely gone. 3 form bowel movements a day, no blood, no urgency. You know, you feel like you're on the toilet for about 10, 15 seconds. That's it. You know, it was unbelievable. And then I kept at it for another couple of weeks. I thought, right, this has worked now. Going to keep going. And I was completely symptom free. I mean, it was such a surreal feeling of all the doubts that you've had, and you've gone through the whole process and you've actually done it. You can't quite comprehend that you've done it.
Yeah.
you're symptom free. You're completely healed.
Yeah.
But so that was my sort of raw journey. But obviously, I suppose the next part for me was kind of in my head thinking, right, when I go back to cook foods, what if the mucus comes back? And, you know, are we going to have to start over again? Am I going to have to go raw again? That was the next process for me.
Yeah, that's an interesting question, because, you know, if you do heal your body and then you slowly introduce the cooked food back in, you know, there shouldn't be any issues, you know. And this is the thing, a lot of people are looking for short-term results, or, you know, like if they go on a diet and it stops their symptoms straight away, they think, oh, they found it and this is it, you know. But until you've actually gone through that healing process, you've detoxified your body, you've removed all the toxic matter, you've seen the gunk come out of your system, and then when you can go on a really simple diet like you did, and you're getting no symptoms at all, that's when you know you've done it. You know, that's when you know that's the healing's happened, and then you can start to introduce food back in without any, you know. Obviously, if you do it too quickly, then there can be issues. But if you do it properly, methodically, and you plan it well, then you basically should have no issues with introducing cooked food back. And you didn't, and obviously
we didn't.
It worked pretty well. Yeah.
Everything went well. Adding cooked foods again. You know, start with the simple stuff. Basically, went back onto the healing diet in terms of like the potatoes and vegetables. But after that, I can now handle legumes, nuts, whole grains. I've got absolutely no problems. I've got, you know, the stools are amazing. No blood, no urgency, no mucus. It's completely healed, and that was the test for me, and that was the beautiful test. Started putting weight back on straight away. It's so nice, back in the gym, exercising again, getting stronger, putting weight on, looking more full of my face. Everything got better. And it's funny because I've basically taken a year out. Well, it's nearly a year now from when I started. I started on January the 1st. This year, obviously, I haven't had any alcohol. I haven't smoked cigarettes. I've completely changed my diet, but it truly is the best I've ever felt. Mentally, sort of mental clarity and everything else, it is the best I've ever felt, and I'm so grateful I did it, and I found you guys to help me do it. But I just recommend to anyone out there that's thinking about it, that's on the fence of their IBD or they're going through it, you've just got to stay consistent. And I know it's easier said than done, because when you watch these videos and you're going through a bit of a tough time, yes, it can motivate you, but you're like, but I'm not in that situation. But the thing is, you can heal from this. And I think what you learn by healing is actually that the body is a self-healing genius, and all the symptoms you've been having probably for years weren't actually bad. It was kind of the body saying, look, I'm trying to actually sort myself out. But the problem is, now you look back at it, when you're pounding it with foods that he doesn't like. And I think when it was at my worst, I was 18, and that's when I was back at uni, really fed up. And that was the time I was on the whey protein, I was eating chicken and rice, I was dirty bulking, I was trying to eat as many calories as I could, fast food, everything. I didn't know. I didn't have any sound nutrition advice. I was just going from what other people were telling you. But now you look back at it and you have a lot of milk and cheese for that whole life. You're just giving your body too much work to do, pumping it full of toxins. It doesn't have enough energy or time to heal itself. But this year, basically, all I've done, I've just provided foods that nourish the body. I've got out its way. I've rested properly, and I've got rid of a medically incurable disease just by eating fruit and vegetables, resting, and having a better mindset.
Yeah. I told you this as well. I tell people it is medically incurable. The doctor can't heal you.
Yeah,
They don't
agreed.
have any success rate with this kind of situation, but you can heal it. And the only way to heal it is to address the cause, and the cause is poor diet and lifestyle. When you address that, the body heals and it reverses, and you get your life back. And just quickly touch on what your life is like.
It it's great now. Everything seems to improved. Just mentally, relationships, work's improved. I just feel better. But the big thing is, I didn't have to put my life on hold for the detox. I still lived my normal life. I still worked. I still went on holidays. Still did everything. Still went out with my friends. Still did everything.
Yeah, yeah,
But everything's better now, and it just changes, and your palate changes. You don't. When you first do it, you really, really crave those fast foods and stuff. But now all you want to do really is eat foods that make you feel good.
yeah,
And that's why life's better. You can have a smoothie now once you've healed your gut and absorbed nutrients properly, and you can feel proper, full-on energy from that smoothie. And you wouldn't have felt like it before. And that's why everything, your perspective changes. But before I was like, oh, I can't go out drinking with everyone every weekend, and I can't eat this and I can't eat that, and it's this whole victim mindset. But I promise you that will change, and all you'll want to do is focus on feeling good, and everything's better. But I'm just so happy now. I'm putting the weight back on naturally, and I'm doing it all on a whole foods plant-based diet. I can get all of my protein, still get my fats. I can still do it. I can still do everything, and getting stronger. Don't get me wrong. I'm just at the start of my journey, but I'm excited to see what the future holds, and I would advocate this lifestyle forever, because the problem is, even when you're in the healing diet and you might be fed up of eating bananas or whatever it is, but it's funny, when you actually heal, you actually come to learn that even once you are healed, you still stick to a lot of the stuff in the healing diet, because that's actually what makes you feel good, and you actually come to love it. Even though now I can have more stuff like whole grains and legumes, and I can have whatever I want. My digestive system's strong enough to handle it, but it's you'll fall in love with it. Especially the fruits. I don't know anyone that's healed that's gone, oh, actually, no, I'm just going to go back to animal products now because I've done what I've needed to do. But I personally haven't seen one person that's done that. Most people advocate the lifestyle because of the way it makes you feel and what it's done for you. You just fall in love with it. You appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. And the people that do go back to animal products, they haven't actually fully healed their body, or they, for whatever reason, just couldn't get over the craving, mate. Like, because they're an addiction.
Yeah.
Okay. And if you can't get over the craving of it, or you just feel so peer pressured, or whatever it is that puts you back there, you're putting yourself at risk. And you've seen the science, you've seen the evidence. The risk is increased for all diseases, all-cause mortality every time you introduce animal products into your diet. So, if you are doing that, and good luck to you. But the science says otherwise, to be honest.
Yeah, and look, and I'd agree with it. I think most of us that have had IBD or colitis, pretty much, well, from all the videos and everything that I've seen, have all on a standard American diet. All of us had animal products. I don't see many people that were fully vegan that are like crying out for help, needing help with their IBD. Most of us had animal products, and when we had those foods, we were all sick. So we all had disease. And when you look at it now, it's quite simple. Those foods are inflammatory. They've got loads of chemicals in it and everything else. So it's understandable why it made you sick. But you don't know that. And to be fair, I was young. I was 14 when I was first diagnosed, and that is young. And I think it's too young for someone to have this type of problem. But now everything's being more westernized and the diets are worse. I think we're going to unfortunately see more young people with these type of problems.
Definitely, mate. Well, mate, we're so proud of you. You've done a great job.
Thanks for your help.
Worked really hard. Taken a whole year out of your life. Real credit to you. You put in the work. You followed the information. You followed the research. You did your own research, and yeah, you get the result, man, and you now have a life after colitis. So congratulations.
Life after colitis, definitely. I'm absolutely buzzing with it. To be fair,
Yeah,
I always knew it would happen eventually, just because others have done it as well before you. So that does give you the confidence. But
yeah,
anyone that's thinking about it as on the fence, you just got to stay consistent. You've just got to give it a go, because everyone else is doing it now. It's like a little trend, and you can definitely do it yourself. And you'll learn a lot about yourself in that year as well. Just taking the year out to reflect, you'll learn a lot about yourself, and your life doesn't go on hold. You don't just sit in
no,
your bed for 12 months trying to get
yeah,
rid
that's
of it.
right.
You can
Yeah,
still live a life. You can go out and go on holiday. You can get it. You can do a lot of this stuff. Your life isn't on hold, and it will be a really good year. And I'll always remember it. I'll always remember this is the biggest year of my life. It's very significant to have done it. The thing is, now I'm happy. I'm disease free. I can introduce all these foods. I can just live healthy and happy. And look, I'll always be interested in sort of bowel stuff and colitis and helping people. People want to reach out and stuff. And it's funny because when you do it, a lot of people at work and everything, I say, oh, I've got this problem, or I've got this issue, or acid reflux and stuff. And you say, look, you don't have to do this. But, would it be worth you just looking into like a whole foods plant-based diet to see if it'll benefit you? And there's more people doing it now. The whole vegan thing. And look, at the end of the day as well, it's good for the animals. And is it better for the environment? Well, the research looks like it does. So
it's pretty much unanimous.
there's a lot of
that it's
benefit.
better for the environment. The World Health Organization has said the number one thing you can do personally to help the environment is to go vegan. There was another report that came out. I can't remember exactly the name. IPCC or something like that. Report that, again, basically number one thing you can do is go vegan. Go plant based for the environment. So the people who say otherwise have got some vested interest in animal products.
Maybe
that's about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's one of those things. Yeah, it makes you feel good. This way of life, it's a guilt-free way of living. It's better for you. You'll feel happier. Why not try it? Why not give it a go for anyone that's sort of got these issues, or anyone wants to do it anyway. But I'd thank you and your brother, because what you guys do it's a great service. I mean, look, I did it for 6 months on my own. I am proud of what I did, but I was off the tracks a little bit, and I wasn't quite doing it right. I'd say to anyone, fair enough if you do it on your own for a bit because you're excited and you really want to get rid of it, but I'd just say just reach out, because it's going to be quicker, it's going to be easier, it'll be an easier transition. You can talk to someone about it, because otherwise it is lonely doing it on your own, because your parents don't know what they're doing. Your girlfriend, your friends don't know what they're doing because they've never done it. So you're second guessing. And on the internet there isn't loads and loads of research about a detox. There's a few, but to get sound advice, there isn't lots of people doing what you guys do in this type of manner. So just reach out anyway, just see how it goes. Heal yourself from colitis and be disease free.
Exactly, man. Couldn't have said it better. Take care, and thanks for taking your time again.
Thanks for your help. Speak to you soon, mate.